Antam tamaha pravisanti ye sambutim upasyate tato bhuyai vate tamo yayu sambutam rataha. Anyad evahu sambhavat anyadahura sambhavat iti susumadiranam yenastad vichachakshire. Sambutim cha vinasam cha yastad vedobhayam saha vinasena miritum titva sambutam ritamasnute. Vinasena. Hiranmayana patrena satyasya pihitam mukam tatvam pusam apavrinu satyadharma yadristaye. Pusanyekase yama surya prajapatya vyuharasmin samahate jo yatte rupam kayanatamam tate pasyami yo savaso purushaha sohamasmi. Yuharasmin samuhate jo yatte rupam kalyana tamam tate pasyami yo savaso purushaham sohamasmi. Vayuranilam amritam atedam basmantam sariram om kratos smara kritam smara kratos smara kritam smara. Agnenaya supatara yasman vishvani deva vayunani vidvan yodajma chuhuranamino puyistam te nama uktim vedema om tat sat. Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. So today we're going to begin mantra 2. Oh no, mantra 1, sorry. Yeah. We finished the invocation. Ishavaishyam midam sarvam jatkinja jagatyam jagat tenatak tena bunjitaha ma gridaha kishasviddanam. Isha, repeat, Isha. By the Lord. Avasyam, controlled. Idam, this. Sarvam, all. Yatkincha, whatever. Jagatyam, within the universe. Jagat, all that is animate or inanimate. Tena, by him. Tyaktena, set apart quota. Punjitaha, you should accept. Ma, do not. Gridaha, endeavor to gain. Kasyasvid, of anyone else. Dhanam, the wealth. Purport or translation. Everything animate or inanimate. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Vedic knowledge is infallible because it comes down through the perfect disciplic succession of spiritual masters, beginning with the Lord Himself. Since He spoke the first word of Vedic knowledge, the source of this knowledge is transcendental. The words spoken by the Lord are called aporusheya, which indicate that they are not delivered by any mundane person. A living being who lives in the mundane world has 4 defects. He is certain to commit mistakes, he is subject to illusion, and he has a propensity to cheat others, and his senses are imperfect. No one with these 4 imperfections can deliver perfect knowledge. The Vedas are not produced by such an imperfect creature. Vedic knowledge was originally imparted by the Lord into the heart of Brahma, the first created living being. And Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples, who have handed it down through history. Since the Lord is Purnam, all perfect, there is no possibility of his being subject to the laws of material nature, which he controls. However, both the living entities and inanimate objects are controlled by the laws of nature, and ultimately by the Lord's potency. This Isopanisad is part of the Yajurveda, and consequently it contains information concerning the proprietorship of all things existing within the universe. The Lord's proprietorship over everything within the universe is confirmed in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 7, 4, and 5, where para and apara prakriti are discussed. The elements of nature, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, all belong to the Lord's inferior material energy, apara, prakriti, whereas the living being, the organic energy, is his superior para, prakriti. Both of these prakritis, or energies, are emanations from the Lord, and ultimately he is the controller of everything that exists. There is nothing in the universe that does not belong either to the para or the apara prakriti. Therefore, everything is the property of the Supreme Being. Because the Supreme Being, the Absolute Personality of Godhead, is the complete person, he has complete and perfect intelligence to adjust everything by means of his different potencies. The Supreme Being is often compared to a fire, and everything organic and inorganic is compared to the heat and light of that fire. Just as fire distributes energy in the form of heat and light, the Lord displays his energy in different ways. He thus remains the ultimate controller, sustainer, and dictator of everything. He is the possessor of all potencies, the knower of everything, and the benefactor of everyone. He is full of inconceivable opulence, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is a proprietor of anything. One should accept only those things that are set aside by the Lord as his quota. The cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink that milk. She eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. Such is the arrangement of the Lord. Thus we should be satisfied with those things he has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belong. Take, for example, our dwelling, which is made of earth, wood, stone, iron, cement, and so many other material things. If we think in terms of Sri Isopanisad, we must know that we cannot produce any of these building materials ourselves. We can simply bring them together and transform them into different shapes by our labor. A laborer cannot claim to be a proprietor of a thing just because he has worked hard to manufacture it. In modern society, there's always a great quarrel between the laborers and the capitalists. This quarrel has taken an international shape, and the world is in danger. Men face one another in enmity and snarl just like cats and dogs. The Sri Isopanisad cannot give advice to the cats and dogs, but it can deliver the message of Godhead to man through the bona fide acharyas, holy teachers. The human race should take the Vedic wisdom of Sri Isopanisad and not quarrel over material possessions. One must be satisfied with whatever privileges are given to him by the mercy of the Lord. There can be no peace if the communists or the capitalists or any other party claims proprietorship over the resources of nature, which are entirely the property of the Lord. The capitalists cannot curb the communists simply by political maneuvering, nor can the communists defeat the capitalists simply by fighting for stolen bread. If they do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the property they claim to be their own is stolen. Consequently, they will be liable to punishment by the laws of nature. Nuclear bombs are in the hands of both communists and capitalists, and if both do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that these bombs will ultimately ruin both parties. Thus, in order to save themselves and bring peace to the world, both parties must follow the instructions of Sri Isopanisad. Human beings are not meant to quarrel like cats and dogs. They must be intelligent enough to realize the importance and aim of human life. The Vedic literature is meant for humanity and not for cats and dogs. Cats and dogs can kill other animals for food without incurring sin. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste buds, he is responsible for breaking the laws of nature. Consequently, he must be punished. The standard of life for human beings cannot be applied to animals. The tiger does not eat rice and wheat or drink cow's milk because he has been given food in the shape of animal flesh. Among the many animals and birds, some are vegetarian and others are carnivorous, but none of them transgress the laws of nature, which have been ordained by the will of the Lord. Animals, birds, reptiles, and other lower life forms strictly adhere to the laws of nature. Therefore, there is no question of sin for them, nor are the Vedic instructions meant for them. Human life alone is a life of responsibility. It is wrong, however, to think that simply by becoming a vegetarian one can avoid transgressing the laws of nature. Vegetables also have life, and while it is nature's law that one living being is meant to feed on another, for human beings the point is to recognize the Supreme Lord. Thus, one should not be proud of being a strict vegetarian. Animals do not have developed consciousness by which to recognize the Lord, but a human being is sufficiently intelligent to take lessons from the Vedic literature and thereby know how the laws of nature are working and derive profit out of such knowledge. If a man neglects the instructions of the Vedic literature, his life becomes very risky. A human being is therefore required to recognize the authority of the Supreme Lord and become his devotee. He must offer everything for the Lord's service and partake only of the remnants of food offered to the Lord. This will enable him to discharge his duty properly. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:26, the Lord directly states that he accepts vegetarian food from the hands of a pure devotee. Therefore, a human being should not only become a strict vegetarian, but should also become a devotee of the Lord, offer the Lord all his food, and then partake of such prasadam, or the mercy of the Lord. Only those who act in this way can properly discharge the duties of human life. Those who do not offer their food to the Lord eat nothing but sin and subject themselves to various types of distress, which are the results of sin. Bhagavad Gita 3:13. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Disobeying the laws of nature or the order of the Lord brings ruin to a human being. Conversely, one who is sober, who knows the laws of nature, and who is not influenced by unnecessary attachment or aversion, is sure to be recognized by the Lord, and thus become eligible to go back to Godhead, back to the eternal home. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So here we have a very profound mantra 1. That's basically, see, this Isopanisad is part of the Yajur Veda. And the Yajur Veda is all about who is the proprietor. So, who is the proprietor, according to this mantra and the purport? Yes, Krishna. And what proof is there given in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is the proprietor? You mentioned 2 verses. Yes, exactly right. Yeah. So it says, Bumir apo nalo vayu kam mano budire vacha hankara itimam ye vina paktir astata parayamitas tvanyam pakrite vidime param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayadam dayate jagat. Okay? Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, these comprise my inferior separated energy. But besides this, there's another energy that's superior, made up of all living entities and demigods. And let's see the exact pariyamitas tvanyam pakriti vidime param jiva bhutam mahabaho yar yadam daryate jagat. This says, besides these, there's another one. It's transcendent, it's superior, and besides these, O mighty Arjuna, there's another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. They're exploiting the resources. What should they be doing with the resources of the material inferior nature? They should be offering them to Krishna. And then that becomes devotional service, and by devotional service one can learn more about Krishna, because the Lord reveals himself to the devotee who is sincere. Okay. All right, so those two verses are proof that Krishna is the ultimate proprietor. He is Ishvara. And it says, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridese rajuna tistati brahmayan yantarudrani brahmayan sarvabhutani yantarudrani mayaya. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara sarvabhutanam, I am the Lord of all living entities. This 18th chapter, verse number 60. '61. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. So what is the machine that he's talking about? What is the yantra? It's the body. Body functions like a machine, right? So he's saying that all living entities are seated on a machine. Well, where's the seat in the body? The heart. That's where our soul is. And that's where Krishna is also. Krishna is the soul of our soul. In other words, our soul is 1/10,000th the tip of a hair, and Krishna is smaller than that. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita, it says in the 7th chapter that Krishna is greater than the greatest and smaller than the smallest. He says, here, well, anyway, he says it in other places too. Anor aniyam mahato mahayam. Anor aniyam means it's smaller than the smallest. Mahato mahayam is greater than the greatest. Okay. Huh? Maybe. Let me see if I find what I was looking for. Anor aniyam. Oh, it's in the 8th chapter. I'm sorry. And he says that you should know him as. Let's see. Wait a minute. Yeah. Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram Anor Aniyam Sam Anusmaretya. So he says that Anor, he is, one should meditate upon the Supreme Lord as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest. Okay, so he's smaller than Anor Aniyam Sam Anusmaridya. So he's smaller than our soul, and our soul is already 1/10,000th the tip of a hair, right? Okay, so that is 8th chapter, verse number. Yeah, verse number 9. Okay, so, yes. What? Speak louder. I can't hear.
Once we offer the inferior material energy to the Lord, ultimately He would reveal Himself to the pure devotee. How does He reveal Himself to the pure devotee? Can you talk a little bit about that?
He gives you intelligence by which you can understand Him.
Is it like Dhruv Maharaj who first recognizes the Lord in his Paramatma and then he comes and stands?
Well, more specifically, when Dhruva Maharaj saw the Lord, he was stunned.
Right.
And he couldn't speak. Then the Lord touched him with his kancha, and all of a sudden he began to speak very profound Sanskrit verses glorifying the Lord. Where did he get that knowledge from? Yeah, it was by the touch of the Lord. So, and then the Lord says, 10th chapter, verse number 9, he says that Tesam Satati Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Dadami Buddhiyogam Tam Yenamam Upayantite. He said, I'm sorry, that's number 10. He said, those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they come to me. So he reveals himself by giving you the intelligence to understand.
And what does the devotee do with that intelligence?
Well, when he begins to hear about Krishna, he begins to see Krishna. Just like when you look at a piece of raw marble, do you see anything?
No.
No, you don't see the shape that's potential in that. But a great artist like Rodin, they look at a piece of raw marble, they actually see the form already, and then they simply carve it. They already see it. They have the ability to see it. And they're trained like that. And it comes from Krishna. But you and me look at the raw marble, we don't see anything. We just see a lump of marble. Right? I mean, the people that made Lord Ram's Parivar, those were raw pieces of marble. Right? But they were able to see this beautiful form. You see. So that requires a special skill and intelligence to be able to see like that. So philosophy in Sanskrit, what's the word for philosophy in Sanskrit? Darshan. The word for philosophy in Sanskrit is darshan, right? So, therefore, there's the sad darshans, or sad darshan. What are the sad darshan? The 6 fundamental schools of philosophy in India. Right? They have Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, and Karma Mimamsa, Vedanta, and so forth. These are 6 fundamental darshans. What does darshan mean? Huh? Philosophy. But what does it mean, darshan?
Intellectual view.
Seeing, yeah. Properly seeing things. But the ability to see Krishna, that's the real meaning of darshan. Krishna is present everywhere, but we don't see because we have no philosophy. Therefore, when you read the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it starts to explain how to see. Rasoham apsakonteya prabhasmi sasisuraya pranava sarvavedesu sabdeke purusham risu. And I am the taste of water. So whenever you taste good water, that's Krishna. And I am the light of the sun and the moon. Whenever you see the sun and the moon, the light, that's who? Your grandmother? No, it's Krishna. And we're going to come to that. Then it says, Pranava Sarvavedesu, and I am the Om Pranava in all the Vedas. And Sabdeke Porusham Nisu, and I am Sabdeke, sound in ether and ability in man. Okay? Then it says, Punya Ganda Prativyam Cha, Tejas Chasmi Vibhavaso, Jivanam Sarvabhute Su, Tapas Chasmi Tapasvisu. And I am the original fragrance of the earth. Right? Each flower pulls a different fragrance from the earth. Right? Actually, every fragrance is a combination of the same chemicals, but in different proportions. So, there's rose, there's carnation, there's gardenia, there's jasmine, there's tuberose, and, all these different fragrances. Krishna is the source of them. The fragrance of Punya Ganda Prativyam Cha. Tejas Chasmi Vibhavaso, and I am the heat in fire. So this is teaching us. You go through the 7th chapter, then you go through the 10th chapter, then you go through the 11th chapter. It's teaching us darshan, how to see Krishna. Darshan is not how to see, Marilyn Monroe. That's not darshan. Yeah, you should see her as a fool, yeah. But that's not real darshan. Real darshan is how to see Krishna. And that's what Krishna is teaching Arjuna here in Bhagavad Gita, how to see him everywhere. Okay. So, and then what does prakriti mean again? And another meaning of it, that which is controlled by the Lord. Right. Okay. And then, so there's an example given. So the Lord has complete and perfect intelligence to adjust everything by means of his different potencies. The Supreme Being is often compared to a fire, and everything organic and inorganic is compared to the heat and light of that fire. So in the fire, you can see heat and light, but you can't exactly separate it. It's part and parcel. Here's an example of part and parcel. Heat and light in the fire. So Krishna expands organic and inorganic matter. It all comes from him. Everything comes from him. Everything good. And so what is the source of bad things? How do you, if everything comes from Krishna? Huh? Okay. What is it?
It's come from Krishna also.
So does that mean Krishna is bad?
By misuse of metal word.
What?
By misuse of metal word.
Yes. When people misuse, I mean, what's the example of misusing? All the energy, whether material or spiritual, belongs to Krishna. So what's misuse of it? Huh?
By making atom bomb to kill the people.
Using instead of, because it belongs to Krishna, instead of using it for Krishna, we use it for me.
Right. So that's sinful activity, right? And so the lack of following Krishna's instructions is the cause of bad things. But it's a function of Krishna, because everything is coming from him. Everything should be used in his service. When things are used selfishly, that's the cause of bad things. And so therefore the definition of sin, the root of sin is this deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature, disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Let's repeat this. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Let's repeat it one more time. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. So who owns everything? Is it Microsoft or Google or the Lord? Right. He also owns Google. He also owns Microsoft. Right? He owns the United States. He owns Russia. In fact, all those countries, they're false designations. They've been arbitrarily established. It all belongs to Krishna. As long as they think it belongs to them, then they use everything sinfully. If they recognize that it belongs to Krishna, then they must learn how to offer things to Krishna properly. You see? It's not complicated. So the root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature. What is the law of nature? The law of nature is yat kurosi yadasnasi yat johosi dadasi yat tapasyasi konteya tat kurusva madarpanam. Whatever you do, yat kurosi yadasnasi, whatever you eat, yat johosi, whatever you give away in charity, and yat tapasyasi, whatever austerities you perform, do it as an offering to me, Arjuna. Subha subha phaler evam moksyasi karma bandhanai sanyasya yoga yutatma vimukto mam upaisyase. If you do this, then all subha and asubha, everything auspicious and inauspicious, you'll become free of it, and you will not subha subha phaler evam. You'll be free of the fruits of anything auspicious and inauspicious. Moksyasi karma bandhanai, and you'll become free of the karma band, the entanglement by the laws of material nature in the cycle of birth and death. Sanyasya yoga yutatma, by this principle of renunciation through connecting with me. You renounce using things improperly and you connect them to Krishna. Yoga yutatma. Vimukto mam upaisyasi. You will be liberated and you'll come back to me. So this 9th chapter, very nice 2 verses to know. 9th chapter, verses 27 and 28. You should write these down. This is part of the test. So what is the definition of sin? The root of all sin? Right. It's in the last page of the purport, the last paragraph. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Now, yes?
What is the meaning of deliberate?
Deliberate means you do it on purpose. You don't do it unconsciously, you do it on purpose.
We know when we are doing that.
Intentionally.
When we are doing that problem.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it unconsciously, it's still sin, but it becomes real sin when you do it deliberately. Just like Ravana knew what he was doing when he kidnapped Sita. It was not an accident. He did it on purpose.
He did it intentionally.
He did it intentionally. The root of all sin. When you get in an argument with your husband or your wife, right? You know what you're doing. It's not accidental. Right? So, that's the root of all sin. Okay. And it says, yes.
Unintentionally commit a sin and later to repent just be intentionally. Does that sin still find us?
Well, if you're forgiven, no. So, there's the verse in the Bhagavad Gita that explains this, where it says that even if one commits the most abominable act, apichet sudaracharo bhajanti mam ananyabhak sadur eva samantavya samyak vyavasito hisaha. 9th chapter, 30th verse. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. So, sometimes this verse is misunderstood, but it means that if due to accidentally making a mistake or due to previous bad habits that you had that sort of, sort of like a recidivism back to them, or due to bad association, even though you're a devotee, even though you're initiated, you do some horrible thing. If you resituate yourself under the instruction of a bona fide devotee and continue devotional service, and don't do that again, you can be forgiven. Now, if you use this verse to regularly commit sinful activity, then you're not forgiven anymore. If you say, oh, this is the loophole I was looking for, No. It's not meant for that. Krishna recognizes that, after so many births and deaths in the material world, people become habituated to committing sins. So it's going to be a rough ride in the beginning to accommodate yourself to being saintly all the time. So there might be some fall downs. But that's due to previous bad training, or it can be due to bad association. Now it can happen, like for example, I'll give you an example. Kasyapa Muni, who's an elevated devotee. Actually, he was a devotee of Lord Shiva, and he was somewhat impersonalist. But he was very elevated. So, and he married 9 daughters of Daksha. All of them were pretty girls. His first wife, Aditi, was the mother of the demigods. His second wife, Diti, the mother of the Asuras. And third wife, Danava, is the mother of the mixed Asuras, Devas. And then he had the other 6 wives. One of them is the wife who gave birth to Garuda, other gave birth to snakes, and so forth. And so he was a big-time Prajapati, right? Well, at one point, all the wives had kids, except Diti, the second wife. And she felt, one time she was like really agitated to have a child. So she interrupted her husband near the end of the day when the sun was going down, while he was doing puja, while he was doing a fire sacrifice, and interrupted him and said, I want to have a baby, and you have to, satisfy me right now. So he said, look, this is not the right time. It's the end of the day. Right now, Lord Shiva, riding on Nandi, and followed by all the bhutas, all the ghosts, are traveling. And Lord Shiva has 3 eyes. And with his third eye, it's like he can see through walls, he can see, it's like the X-ray machine at the Homeland Security when you're going for an airplane, right? They can see through your clothing, right? So he said, she said, well, that's all right, we'll do it in a private room. He said, no, he can see even in a private room. He's flying through the air right now. So he'll see us. There's no privacy. There's always a witness. But she didn't listen to him. And then he was not strong enough to say no, because he was attracted to her. She was very pretty. And she pulled on his dhoti. And then, what he did first he begged forgiveness, of Lord Shiva, and then they conceived a child. Now and he knew what was going to happen. He knew the child was going to be a demon because it was the wrong time. So, the Vedic culture is scientific. There's a right time. Just like Jesus Christ said, there's a time for this and there's a time for that. It's a famous sermon that he gave. And he was indicating also that everything has its time, and everything has to be regulated according to the right time. So anyway, he made a mistake. He knew it was a mistake, and he tried to convince his wife, but he wasn't strong enough because he was attracted to her. So he did it anyway. So there's an example, right, of a sinful act. It's a sinful act. Therefore, their kids turned out to be demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So, Krishna consciousness can save you from all that. But Prabhupada says the Guru can give you instructions, he can give you hints, but it's in your hands to follow the instructions. If you don't follow the instructions of the Guru, he's not responsible for what happens. I mean, he'll take a certain amount of responsibility, but it's in our hands to actually follow. And if we can't follow properly, then, woe is us. We're going to end up with demons, as kids. We end up with all kinds of problems in life. Yeah.
Jay and Vijay were ordained to be demons, right? So did
They chose to be demons.
They got blessed from.
But they were cursed to be demons, right?
No, they chose. The Lord gave them two choices. They could take 7 births as devotees or 3 births as demons. So they chose to be demons so they could come back sooner to the spiritual world.
So did they become demons because their parents did not follow the rules, or?
No, they were already liberated. They were already in Vaikuntha. They became demons so that the Lord could fight with them. The Lord doesn't fight with real demons. He kills them easily. But his devotees become demons. So the Lord can fight with them. It's like a mock fight. It's like, what do you call it? You have that wrestling, it's not real wrestling, but it looks real, right? What do you call it? I forget what the name is. Oh, okay. I'm glad you watch it. I'm glad you watch it. Yeah, so I asked this question once to Prabhupada, and he said, well, you have to read Bhagavatam a little bit more. He said
Krishna announced fight for 22 days continuously with the government.
Well, I didn't understand what you said, but I understand what you mean. That he fights with his devotees. He doesn't fight with real demons. Real demons he kills easily. He doesn't have to fight with them to kill them. He just gives them a heart attack or something.
With Jambavan, Krishna fought for 22 days.
That's his devotee, right? And Jambavan realized that he was Lord Ram, because only Lord Ram could have defeated him.
Then after he realized that he is Lord.
Yeah. All right, so we're near the end. We'll have a little quiz on this tomorrow and then go on to the next one. What you should do, the homework is you should read this and make an outline of the main points. Make an outline of the main point if you have time. And then instead of me asking the questions, I'm going to ask you to ask questions based on your outline. All right? Now, if you don't make an outline and I ask you, say, you'll be looking like, So we'll know who did the homework, who didn't do the homework. Okay? So there's a bunch of questions there. This is a long purport, so, you can find a lot of things to ask questions about in this purport. Instead of me doing it, you're going to do it. Okay?
We should ask you or ask each other?
No, one person gets up and say, I'm acting like Harivilas now. Now, what are the 4 defects of the human being? You know, so, and then people have to raise their hand and say what it is. And you can call the person who asked the question can call on anyone they want. You know, so if you don't like someone, you can call on them. You know. What?
Catholics have this confession, right?
Yes. It's called confusion. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So their intent is what, like you sin, then you get.
It's called prayaschita in Sanskrit. Prayaschita. It's atonement. But Maharaj Yudhisthira, Maharaj Yudhisthira was questioning Sukadeva Goswami about it, and he came to the conclusion that he said it's actually useless because they atone, then they go back and sin again. So it's not really a good process. They atone and then they feel as if and it's the same thing when you do pujas with materialistic priests. They do the puja and you get free. What is the puja for? Let's ask that question. What is the puja for? Yeah, but in order to get Ayur, Arogya, Aishwarya, you have to be cleared of sins. So these different pujas that they do, Sudarshana Homam and Satyanarayana Puja, all these things, it's to clear a certain number of sins so that you become eligible for Ayur, Arogya, Aishwarya. See? But it doesn't clear what? It doesn't clear the desire to sin. So they'll go right back after the puja and sin again. And just like the Catholics, they'll confess, say, "Oh Father, I have sinned. Yes, my son, tell me. I killed my neighbor." "Oh, really?" "Yes." "What should I do?" "Well, you have to say 1,000 Hail Marys. Hail Mary, Mother of God." And they repeat 1,000 Hail Marys. And it's supposed to clear the sin. Then he comes back the week after. "Thank you very much, Father. You cleared my sin. I didn't get caught, but I sinned again." "What was that?" "I killed the other neighbor." So, what good is that? He didn't stop desiring to kill people. He just, he keeps going on killing people, but he gets sort of relief from the previous murder, and now he's going on to the next one and he wants to ask for more relief. So, there's a little atonement, but it's not real, because the desire to sin has not gone away. Yeah. Therefore, there's a long discussion of the holy name in the 6th canto to show how to get rid of the root of desire. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience to the laws of nature by ignoring or by disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Yeah, what's your question?
So by doing these pujas,
Yeah.
kind of pujas, the sin is removed?
Sins are removed to a certain degree.
So then what is the difference between...
Because householders are committing sins all the time. They turn on a fire, right, to cook, you kill thousands of germs. They drive a car, they kill thousands, maybe millions of living entities. They breathe, you kill living entities. You eat, you kill living entities. So grihastas are killing all the time, doing all these things.
But Prabhu, then we also...
That's besides the big sins. These are the everyday sins.
But I thought, Prabhu, that the sins can only be eradicated by the mercy of the Lord when we engage in devotional service.
Well, that's what they're doing. Satyanarayana Puja, Sudarsana Puja, all these things. They're asking the Lord,
The worship of the Devatas? Yeah.
Well, yeah. If when you worship the Devas, and the Deva is supposed to offer the result to the Lord, to Lord Vishnu. So they get some temporary relief. That's why, people do these pujas, sometimes they become very successful and rich, right? You haven't seen that? The people are worshiping Mata or Shiva. Ravana was rich, very rich. He was worshiping Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma. So,
But we shouldn't ask for material things from God.
what?
We shouldn't ask for material things from God.
I know, but they're asking. Yes.
So if a devotee does these pujas and like tries to do these pujas to remove obstacles in the path of devotional service, is it?
You don't have to do it. You're removing all the obstacles by chanting Hare Krishna, taking prasadam, and doing what?
Time sensitive.
Saturday Sankirtan. What is Saturday Sankirtan? It's called Yuga. So you go on Sankirtan. You go on Sankirtan. Right? It's the Yuga Dharma. You go on Sankirtan. You don't stay at home on Sankirtan. So you take prasadam, chant Hare Krishna, and do Sankirtan. You're eradicating all the sins. You're liberating your ancestors, if you care about them. You might say, all of them except this one auntie, I don't want her. You know. Okay, so it's time to go, so everyone can go to sleep early and early to bed, early to rise, makes a man or woman healthy, wealthy, and wise. So take rest early to come to Mangal Arati, like Prabhu. You can adjust your clock. You can adjust your clock with Pravin walking into Arti. It's exactly 5:30 in the morning. He comes earlier now, yeah, but Haribol. Jai Shri Isopanisad ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so do your homework. Go home, and before you go to sleep, do your homework.